Hey, Boss Bae. What's going on, boo? So, am I the only person that listened to Jerome Powell on March 7th? Sometimes I feel like I am because no one has been really talking about how Jerome Powell, and for those of you that don't know who that is the chair of the Federal Reserve. You know, the people that raise and lower our interest rates, that decide how much money we're printing, how much money will be destroyed, all those good things. So basically, he has outlined a plan that will result in over 2 million people losing their jobs. This will affect over 2 million families. And the reason I'm saying over 2 million, because 2 million is his target number. But since World War II, 11 out of the 12 times that the unemployment rate in the United States has increased by over 1%, they haven't been able to stop it. They haven't been able to hit these incremental goals that they set out. So it's really wild that, people are kind of running around in dystopia and pretending like the government is not telling you all straight up directly that there's going to be job losses. I know at the top of the year, everybody was talking about the massive amount of layoffs that were happening in the tech industry, y'all, but it's not just going to be the tech industry. I told y'all a few months ago to pay attention to the auto industry. And if we were looking at the auto industry, it was for sure 100% pointing in the direction that we would be moving into a recession. Some economists say right now that we're in a slow recession and not the full recession, but the full recession is coming. All right. I'm not trying to scare you. I just want you to be aware so you can be strategic. Now, also important thing to note that since World War II, the 12 times that the feds have attempted this disinflation by raising the interest rates, it has been a failure every single time. And for some reason, they will not acknowledge that our excessive inflation is being caused by price gouging, that is being caused by the war in Ukraine, that it is being caused by supply chain issues. Also, I guess would say an overspill of different issues that happened during COVID. All of these things are contributing to the excessive inflation. And it's very strange to me that our government seems to think that the only way to cure this is raising up interest rates, crashing the housing market, and causing millions of people to lose their jobs, which in return will affect millions of families. I don't know if any of you guys have looked at purchasing a car. And a few months ago, I told y'all, wait, if you didn't have to purchase a car, just hold tight. I've seen interest rates as high as 14%. I was reading a report the other day and it said that the new average car loan is $1,000 a month. Y'all, about 6 years ago, the average car loan in America was closer to about $368 a month compared to $1,000 a month. Okay. Again, I'm not trying to scare you. I want you to be strategic. Now, in my opinion, if the government would incentivize some of these big corporations, maybe they got certain tax breaks or credits or deductions if they were able to keep the prices of their products, within a 5% window over 5 years or 3 years, right? These are the sorts of types of things that would assist or that would aid or stop the price gouging, right? But there's not really anything in place for this. And, we've been hearing about trickle down economics as long as I've been alive, and it don't trickle down to nobody, okay? Anyway, but things I think you can do to prepare yourself. If you have the disposable income, this is a really great time, believe it or not, to invest in the stock market. I know all of the reports are saying the stock market is going to crash. I'll be honest, you guys, if you look at the market historically, this is just what happens. It moves inside of cycles. It goes from bear to bull. Also, historically, if you look at years that end in 2s and 3s, those are normally the lowest years for the stock market, okay? So if you have some additional income or some spare income, this is actually a really good time to start purchasing maybe some REITs or some index funds. If you have the disposable income enough to be able to possibly purchase a property, this is a really good time for that. If you have a property that's in decent shape, rentals are going to do really, really well if you're not price gouging people, because there are so many people that need somewhere to live. They're not in a position right now to buy a home because of the state of the housing market. And a lot of people can't afford the house that they could afford before when interest rates were 3 and 4%. Now interest rates are 7%. They're definitely pushing them up towards 10% and beyond. So that means a lot of people have to delay their dream of home ownership, which means they need to rent. So if you have a decent property or a nice property and you're willing to rent it at a fair rate, you're going to do excessively well during this time. All right. Also, you need to brush up on your skills. If you've always wanted to start a business, now is really a good time. I actually started my business during a recession, how I built my first multi-million-dollar company and turned it into others. If you're interested in starting a business, come and join me. I teach for free. All you got to do is check out my bio. There's a button in there that says join the Commerce Club or join the Royal Court. Click it. Okay, just click it. Click the button. It's free. And I do free trainings. I try and teach for free at least 3 times a week. Things to help you build up, your business, your income, ways to invest, diversify your income. And if you are trying to start a business, especially if you're trying to build up a social media following and convert those people into buyers, I'm your gal. I'm like the best at it. I've helped over 800 people create 6 and 7 figure incomes. Okay. So if you are interested in starting a business, now is a really, really good time to do that. Okay. Something else that it's a really good time to do, and I know there are going to be people that disagree with me, but whatever. Okay. You need to exercise some discipline, but if you have credit cards that give you points, baby, put everything on your credit card. Now you're going to reconcile it or pay it off at the end of the week or at the end of the month, but you're going to be able to use those free points so that you can get money, you can get gift cards, you can travel for free, those sorts of types of things. Okay. Sorry, y'all, incoming call. Okay. Also, something else, if you have the land or the space available and you can actually grow your own food, maybe you and some of your neighbors or you and your family members can partner up and you guys can grow different things, and that's going to aid and assist with food costs. Something else that I have been doing is working on my subscriptions. Y'all know I employ a large amount of people and I do not want to have to lay anyone on my team off. So I am making sure that any subscription that we don't need, anything that has an overlapping activity, honey, I'm trying to kill it, because I would rather, lose a subscription than lose a team member. And that's something you can practice in your regular life. If you are a small business owner, create a lower tier product. People will purchase during a recession. They just don't spend in necessarily large amounts. So for instance, you guys will I got a free training, okay? But outside of the free trainings and classes and courses, I have products all day that are like $27, $47 to help you with your funnels, help you with sales, help you build up thousands of followers, all those sorts of types of things. Go look at my bio, right? I stay with lower tier products because it's way easier for me to get 1,000 people or 2,000 people to spend $27 with me than it is to try and convince 1,000 people to spend $20,000 or $30,000 with me. Okay. So, if you are new to the game, or if you've been in the game and you are noticing that you are having a slowdown in your sales, try and figure out ways that you can still serve your audience, but you can do it at a reduced rate. I didn't say reduce the quality, but reduce the rate, so that way you can really build in the lifelong customers. And if people feel like they got a good exchange for their money, guess what? They will continue to purchase with you. They will continue to buy with you. Anyway, if you found this information helpful, you definitely may want to join my Monetization Nation. That is always happening. We're always teaching, training. If you're looking for mentors, you want weekly live sessions for skills, you can come into there. But outside of that, I really want you guys to get prepared. And if you think I'm making up what Jerome Powell said, I'm about to roll a clip. Y'all know I love inserting a video, okay? So watch this. Okay. And then again, you start putting together a plan and a strategy for you and your family. Okay. At the end of the day, if you know something is coming, you can use it to your advantage. You can take the momentum from it and turn it into a positive that helps you come out on top. Okay. This is not gloom and doom. This is not be scared. This is make a strategy, get prepared, and stand your ground. Okay. That's what type of time we on right now. All right. Love you guys. I want everybody to do well. And if any of these tips that I gave seem like something that's going to be really easy for you to do or something reasonable for you to do, go ahead and try it out.
Like things you can't fix with high interest rates, things like price gouging and supply chain kinks and a war in Ukraine. But you are determined to continue to raise interest rates, so I want to take a look at where you're headed. In December, the Fed released its projections on the state of the economy under your monetary policy plan. According to the Fed's own report, if you continue raising interest rates as you plan, unemployment will be 4.6% by the end of the year, more than a full point higher than it is today. Chair Powell, if you hit your projections, do you know how many people who are currently working, going about their lives, will lose their jobs?
I don't have that number in front of me. I will say it's not an intended consequence.
But it is, and it's in your report, and that would be about 2 million people who would lose their jobs, people who are working right now, making their mortgages. So, Chair Powell, if you could speak directly to the 2 million hardworking people who have decent jobs today, who you're planning to get fired over the next year, what would you say to them? How would you explain your view that they need to lose their jobs?
I would explain to people more broadly that inflation is extremely high and it's hurting the working people of this country badly. All of them, not just 2 million of them, but all of them are suffering under high inflation, and we are taking the only measures we have to bring inflation down.
And putting 2 million people out of work is just part of the cost, and they just have to bear it?
Well, will working people be better off if we just walk away from our jobs and inflation remains 5-6%?
Let me ask you about what happens if you do this. Since the end of World War II, there have been 12 times in which the unemployment rate has increased by 1 percentage point within 1 year, exactly what you're aiming to do right now. How many of those times did the U.S. economy avoid falling into a recession?
You know, it's not as black and white as very
Just
very
looking
infrequent.
at the numbers, it actually is pretty black
Alan
and white.
Blinder's written a book on this, and
there have been 12 times that we've seen a 1 point increase in the unemployment rate in a year. That's exactly what your Fed report has put out as the projection and the plan based on how you're going to keep raising these interest rates. How many times did the economy fail to fall into a recession after doing that? Out of 12 times.
I think the number is 0.
I think the number is 0. That's exactly right. So then the question becomes, we've got 2 million people out of work. Can you stop it at 2 million people? History suggests that the Fed has a terrible track record of containing modest increases in the unemployment rate. Once the economy starts shedding jobs, it's kind of like a runaway train. It is really hard to stop. In fact, in 11 out of the 12 times that the unemployment rate increased by a full percentage point within 1 year, unemployment went on to rise another full percentage point on top of that. If that's what happens this time, we'd be looking at least 3.5 million people who would lose their jobs. So, Chair Powell, if you reach your goal and 2 million people get laid off by the end of this year, and then, just like in 11 out of 12 times that unemployment has risen by a point in a single year, it keeps on rising. And then we've got 2.5 million people out of work. We've got 3 million people who get laid off. We've got 3.5 million people who get laid off. What's your plan?
Well, right now the unemployment rate is 3.4%, which is the lowest in 54 years. And we actually don't think that we need to see a sharp or enormous increase in unemployment to get inflation under control.
I'm looking at your projections. Do you call laying off 2 million people this year not a sharp increase in
I would say
unemployment?
4.5%.
Explain that to the 2 million families who are going to be out of work.
We're not targeting any of that. But I would say even 4.5% unemployment is well better than most of the time for the last 75 years.
In other words, you don't have a plan to stop a runaway train if it occurs. Chair Powell, you are gambling with people's lives, and there's a pile of data showing that price gouging and supply chain kinks and the war in Ukraine are driving up prices. You cling to the idea that there's only one solution: lay off millions of workers. We need a Fed that will fight for families, and if you're not going to lead that charge, we need someone at the Fed who will.